It's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvellous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello, welcome back to Generation Skywalker. This is our epilogue show for Attack of the Clones month. It is the final show. It's been a hell of a month, and these boys have been amazing all the way through it. I've got with me Dan Burgess. Good evening, Dan.
It is with great reluctance that I have agreed to this call-in.
Yeah, I've got Jez with me. Good evening, Jez.
Good evening.
It is Craig Spivey. Good evening, Craig.
Hello.
It's been a real hectic month for us. I mean, we've worked our socks off getting out. This is the 10th podcast, but most of them have been enhanced. There's a couple of unboxings in there. There's a Skywalker Blast, a couple of competitions. What else am I missing? We've done all sorts of them. The Joe Castor new posts across our social media. It has been a big, big month. Jez, I'm going to come to you, okay? Podcast-wise, can you just take us through... I mean, people have probably been listening. Can you just give us like a 30-second overview of what we have done?
It's been a game changer. We started off, and you'll see the progression, the change in all of us with regards to our, the standing of the film in our eyes at the beginning. So we had an initial, what are our thoughts? Then we had the commentary. We've had an excellent interview by superfan Matthew, which was really so positive to hear. More on that later, I'm sure. But then we've delved into the detail with regards to the art, the sound, the costumes. It's been great to see just more and more just as the month has gone on. And I'm just so proud of what we've collectively done. It's been a real eye and ear opener.
Just before we do move on, has anyone purchased anything to do with Attack of the Clones? Has this month made you think, do you know what? I want to go and spend some money.
Yeah.
Yes. What?
Well, I wasn't a modern collector. So this isn't just about me not buying Attack of the Clones stuff. It's changed. Yeah, it's changed all sorts for me. So vintage collection, I got myself a Obi-Wan Kenobi vintage collection carded figure. I also then went back after we did the toys episode, and I looked at what was my favourite there, which was the Sam Weasel one, which came with the mask. So I got that from the Saga collection, and I also got an Anakin Skywalker with the action from the Saga collection as well. I think there was a fourth. I think there was a fourth item that may well come to me. But yeah, Sam Weasel, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin. I've had plenty more on my watch list. The Geonosis Battle Arena it's come very close on a couple of occasions.
It is a great arena. Now, Craig, obviously you unboxed a water maze, which we've obviously given one away to as well. Anything else on top of that?
On top of two water mazes, I bought the WA7 on WAS, the server droid from Dex's Diner, 3 3/4 inch. And I opened her up. She sat on the bar.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I love that. That's a great pickup. Dan?
Not a sausage.
Not a sausage. I'm
Unfortunately.
disappointed in you, Daniel.
I've been weighing up some of those hot toys. I might.
Yeah, so have I. Which one takes your fancy the most?
Probably the clone.
Cool. I don't think I've actually bought anything either apart from my sticker album. Me saying you're a disgrace. So we're starting to delve. Jez seems to have an Attack of the Clones focus all of a sudden. So very interesting. And Craig's collecting water mazes. Bet no one else can say that this month. But that's not even said at all around the whole globe, Craig.
I found some Harry Potter ones.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm not into Harry Potter, but I am into water mazes.
So, boys, it has been hard work. We have recorded, we've edited, we've enhanced. There's been so much going on behind the scenes. But although it's been hard work, and you've got to try to juggle your time with your work, this isn't a full-time job. It's been a fun pressure to get the stuff out, I would say. I've enjoyed producing what we've been putting out and the content we've been putting out. So what I would like to ask you all is, what is your one standout moment for yourselves from what we've produced over the theme month?
It's so hard to pick one. It has been, like you say, a lot of fun. And, I remember when you sent over your little presentation PDF of some of the things that, you were proposing that we covered this month. It's like, we're going to do an Attack of the Clones month. Who's in? I'm like, well, okay. I'm along for the ride. But I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned so much. And every show has shown me a different aspect of the film. But you're asking for one standout, aren't you? Which is really hard. I kind of want to say Dan talking about some of the couture elements of the costumes. I enjoyed that very much. But I think for me, because I've been involved in a lot of them, both on the recording side and putting them together, the one I wasn't was the Matthew Schoenfelder interview, because, you did that. You organised that. You recorded that. You edited it. I stuck the graphic on, we put it out. So I actually got to listen to that as a punter, as a listener, and I thought it was brilliant. It was just so nice to hear such an articulate gentleman talk about these films in a positive way, and I got a lot out of that. It was a really, I think, that was a standout moment from the month.
Yeah, lovely chap, and obviously I've only met him through getting him on for this interview, but he's always posting on his groups, regardless of the interaction. He's there day in, day out, posting stuff in those groups. So go and check them out.
Craig, I heartily agree with you, sir. I thought that was an outstanding one. I really enjoyed it. The positivity coming out of that was off the hook. The Jocasta new elements took me a while to figure out what that was all about due to my lack of knowledge of the movie. But getting all of those fun facts and trivia out, I thought was brilliant. Some really, really good insider stuff there. Is that my top? This is such a politician's answer, trying to get my message on point. I think my thing was, again, going back to Craig, we recorded the sound episodes, and right from the beginning I was talking about the phenomenal sounds, and I think it was Craig who said, like, the next day, I don't think I'm going to watch a movie in the same way again, or there was something where you just said you watched the movie, and after what we did on that sound analysis show, I think it's just given us such a heightened appreciation for the work which goes in with it, the Foley and everything else. But this whole experience, I tell you one thing very, very quickly. I've been away with work for the last few nights, or last few days rather. And last night I was just thinking, I'll just put something on. I'll watch something. I've watched the Attack of the Clones so much. I watched episode 3, and I wouldn't have done that before this month. I wouldn't have just had my choice of all the stuff available to watch. I wouldn't have put episode 3 on, but I've enjoyed this experience so much. I want to know what's next.
Brilliant. That was me that had been to see a film with the sounds. I went to see Doctor Strange at the cinema with the son, and I was sitting there like really paying attention to the sounds. And I don't think I've ever watched a movie at the cinema quite like that. You go to the cinema, don't you? And you do notice sounds in certain movies and stuff. And I was just sitting there really focusing on it, and you're kind of like, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. That wasn't the intended outcome.
Yeah. Dan, stand out for you?
I think our bread and butter, really, the toys. I thought the toy show was excellent. I think the way that we contextualised, not just the saga range, but also all the other Attack of the Clones toys that have come out in the years that have gone by. I don't think anything else out there exists like that. I don't think anyone else has done anything like that. I think it's a good 2 hours of visual and audio content. I think, just the whole, for me, the commentary, I love recording those because it's just like sitting around with your mates watching a movie. I thought that was really good fun. I know you were dying at the end of the film when I listened back to it, Stu, but I really enjoyed it. It was good fun. I think it's the whole month just, I suppose, lets you take a step back and think back 20 years what you were doing, where we are now, and with a bit of time and distance you can appreciate the films a little bit more and not look so much on the negatives, because they are still there, but maybe not as strongly as I once felt.
I've loved everything we've actually put out. I think it's been a real learning curve, from sounds and costumes and the art to interviewing Matthew and just having someone on that was so... It didn't matter that there was things in there that he didn't like, but his opinion was that was their vision. So that's what they've produced. So enjoy it for what it is. And it did maybe look at everything in a different light. And I'm going to agree with you, Dan. I mean, for me, sitting down at the very start of the month and watching a movie with you boys makes a different experience. We had it with the holiday special, and we also had it with this. Two things which are generally really low on Star Wars fans' radars. But I've loved watching both of them with you. I think that first viewing, I mean, if we were to watch it again now, the difference, I think, in the conversation would be vast because of what we have discovered over the last 31 days. But yeah, it's been fun just knocking up the whole month with you boys. I've enjoyed everything we've done on there.
I'll tell you what else has been really nice. Obviously, with Obi-Wan coming out, Ewan's been coming out, and Hayden Christensen talking about fans' reactions to the prequels now and how they appreciate it much more. And they have got, young kids coming up to them saying, they're not young kids anymore, they're adults saying, I grew up with these movies, I loved them. And I think that's given them a new lease of life as well.
Also point to our committee, the new concept of a show which was released 2 days ago, and I'm sure people are disagreeing with us online. Craig and Jez came up with some really random things and then voted for them really high. So our top 10 of the Attack of the Clones best moments is really, really random. There is a few real shockers in there and some things missed out that maybe should have been in there, but that was great fun to edit because of Craig. I think you chose something quite left field and then put it as your number one, so it hammered right up our list. It really disjointed the list, but he wasn't the only one in there. That was just it was quite interesting. I think Yoda's big line at the end missed out on the top 10 because of some of our voting.
Well, now I know how to play the numbers for the next ones.
It was a good fun show to put together as well. Coming back to that was good. So we've done this on all our other epilogues. I think a nice montage now of the best bits for you to listen to, and if there's something you've missed and you hear it in here, go back and check it out. It is the 1st of May. This is the start of our Attack of the Clones anniversary month.
You look around my house and the only thing you could say loosely associated would be the reek, which is coming from my 17-year-old son's bedroom.
If you go into it with a smile and you're going to have a good time, Star Wars does not let you down.
This whole hanging your hat on the love element, it just didn't say Star Wars.
So it's this sort of fantasy version of historic record that have turned into legend, and it's very, very evocative of romance, which is what they were trying to put on the screen.
The first 100 seconds of Attack of the Clones are quite possibly the best 100 inaugural seconds of sounds since A New Hope.
And the sand part to me always reminded me of a foreshadowing of what better place to hide his future twins than on a planet full of sand where he came from, because you would think he would never go back.
And this was based on an antique lace bedspread that Trisha Biggar found, and obviously they only had a certain amount of material available of that, and because it was antique and they couldn't get any more, the team in Australia produced more of it. They created 300 yards of this French knit braid scroll work to combine and meld with the panels that they did have.
Gave you episode 1, and it also gave you episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and it made you think, wow, this is everything. This is the Star Wars saga. This is the defining moment.
One more piece in that arc of the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker.
Like our Star Wars dark, don't we?
I recorded the mating calls of penguins as they came back from the Antarctic to Little Phillip Island in Melbourne, says Wood. Other sounds came from when I was up in the rainforest. I was in a flying fox habitat area, and they let me get close to 2 flying foxes. One of them had a banana, but the other one wanted it, so they started fighting. They were really mad. I recorded the whole thing. So for the Genosians, Ben combined mating penguins and fruit bats fighting over a banana.
I don't know what you'd call it really. She's almost like the Hitler moustache of lipstick, isn't it? She's just got that little bit of the middle of her lip in the centre there, with lipstick applied, and everything else is white.
For episode 2, Lucasfilm wanted to be very focused on a specific audience, namely kids and core Star Wars junkies. Lucasfilm is also targeting teenage girls and women because of the movie's romance theme, audiences not normally associated with Star Wars. You ask your auntie about Attack of the Clones, they're probably like, you get a blank expression, you show them that meme, they'll know what that is.
I tell you, they won't.
The Hitler moustache of lipstick.
I reckon, yeah, don't you think?
It's a great line, isn't it?
We'll put that on the
T-shirts
blurb, yeah. This line, there's a bit of nostalgia there, and a lot of it's tied to sort of the time I had with my kids playing with this stuff.
You know, Star Wars is just so fun if you allow it to be.
We have looked at this film from loads of different angles. What has been the most surprising or interesting thing you have learned about this film which you didn't know on the 1st of May?
I think the most interesting thing I learned was that Jez hadn't seen Blade Runner.
That's the most shocking.
Yeah. Have you seen it yet, Jez?
I went to see if it was available last night before I watched episode 3, and it wasn't.
Yeah, it was the sound show. I think just when when Jez was taking us through some of those, I suppose, exercises and kind of trying to listen, like you described with your Doctor Strange, and just trying to listen through and pick out all the different sounds that were going on. And yeah, it's just a new appreciation. I think it's just given me a new appreciation for the sound of the movies that I never probably had before.
Was it the penguin mating call? That was a good one.
Yeah, I know what they sound like now.
Craig, learnt anything?
So much. I think some of it sort of falls into a couple of camps. There's some stuff that I certainly didn't know, and then there's just some stuff that I probably knew at the time I've forgotten. So it was like discovering them all over again. Lots of stuff. Putting those Jocasta new facts together were great, and going back and doing a bit more research into them I found really interesting. There wasn't a single show that we did that didn't have something that I was like, oh yeah, didn't know that. I'm going to dodge the question. I'm going to say the most surprising and interesting thing I learned was about myself and just how much I'm mellowing in my old age.
The rest of us haven't seen that yet.
I know we're going to talk about, the movie and how it sits with us a bit later on, but I certainly don't look at this piece of work with the disdain I perhaps once did.
Jez, you must have learnt loads, because especially with regards to toys, because I didn't know there was a battle arena and trying to buy one and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the toys show blew my mind. That was incredible, and it's really opened up a whole new world for me as someone who's looking at the vintage collection now, or original vintage figures, and feeling a little bit priced out of market. So that was absolutely brilliant. But for me, I think it was probably the art show, being led through by Craig, talking all about the details, recognising so much about symbology or how things have been deliberately requested by Lucas. One of the things on the art show was about the Dr. Zhivago poster, how he said, no, right, yeah, I want our poster to be representative of this, very much like the Gone with the Wind one for Empire Strikes Back. And looking at these different things and the devil in the detail with regards to the costuming and how things are all linked together, there's a lot more thoughts gone into these movies. And I'm aware of that now. It's brilliant.
On that, I've listened to the art show and the Attack of the Clones poster you spoke about, the Yoda IMAX poster, and that brought back a load of memories for me as well. So I don't know whether you guys remember or not, but when they released that in IMAX, they had to cut 20 minutes out of the film, because back then the IMAX projectors could only carry so many reels of film. So it was a cut version of the film, and it got me to think, I wonder what they cut out of the film. Did they cut out those love scenes, or were they cutting out action? So that might be one to revisit. But yeah, it was but I had that poster for a long time. It was great. I did end up selling it, but yeah, it was a great poster. It was really great hearing all that stuff you guys were talking about.
What about you? What's been your favourite thing?
Do you know what? From learning, it probably is the sound show. Okay, I was on the sound show, and I probably didn't contribute quite a lot on that show. I think I sat back and was just listening and was just like, wow, yeah, that, oh yeah, brilliant, that and that. And I have since watched that film, and you're kind of like listening out. And I obviously put together the Across the Stars show, and there's a clip in there of Ben Burt and Matthew Wood going out. I can't remember the name of the plane, but they record the one that first flew across the ocean.
Yeah,
the first plane made all the flights, and them on site recording those, and just how excited they are when they're doing their job. It's just those little things you probably don't understand how much goes into a film, really. So many people probably watch a movie, and if they don't like it, they just slag it off. But actually, these people that are working on it, the work that goes on those must be really disheartening when it flops. All they get is sees bad reviews, because the sounds alone. I love that show. I thought it was a really great piece of podcasting, boys. Piece that we should be really proud of.
Sort of, they called it the World War One, the B-1 version, the B-1 bomber version.
What I was thinking of.
Yeah, it was the Mivy, I think, with the big wooden propeller.
Yeah.
Seismic charges. Stand by.
We put a poll up to gauge what does Generation Skywalker's audience think at this point. Now, this poll was put up in the middle of the month. I think it came out after the art show. So what was that? Our 4th show released. And I was interested to see what the We Are Generation Skywalker Facebook page actually thought of this as a film. And I was quite surprised by the response. So we got I think I left it up for 24, 48 hours, and we had 32 votes in that time. You could rate it 1 to 5 star. Averaged out at 3.53 stars, which for me, when I see Attack of the Clones talked about online, I actually thought that was quite a good score, 3.5.
I think so.
I think my score, I voted 4 stars for this, and we'll get onto that in a minute. Before this month, I would have been at 2 stars with this film. So I have had a swing in this month. But I did find it quite interesting, but not as hated as I thought. Perhaps people are starting to go back with that nostalgia. Dave Tree said the Geonosis battle alone was worth the 3 stars. So there's definitely some thinking in that.
Do you know what, Stu? That's not that far away from the IMDb rating. If you said 3.5 out of 5, obviously they're out of 10. They've got 6.6. So, it's close.
Yeah. It's definitely higher than what I was expecting.
But at the beginning of this, ratings-wise, I think I would have been around about the 2 if we had done that.
I went and watched it. I sat down last weekend and watched it with my son. Now, he's 11 years old, and I just wanted to watch him. And as soon as it ended, I brought him out to my computer, and I just said, right, I want you to tell me whether you loved it or hated it. And he loved it. He's got this film in his top 3, as you'll hear here. I'm here with my son Toby, who has recently turned 11, and we've decided that we would watch Attack of the Clones this morning. It's about my 15th time this month, but I wanted to get the opinion of a child of Attack of the Clones, because all these shows, all our opinions this month have all been from an adult's point of view. And like Matthew Schoenfelder told me in my interview with him, predominantly these films are made for children. So, Toby, welcome to Generation Skywalker. Hello.
Hello.
So, we've watched Attack of the Clones this morning. What do you think of it?
Very good.
Very good. So, you liked it. So, you've probably watched all of the Star Wars films. I know all the sequels we went to the cinema to watch. Let's pick 3. What were your 3 favourite scenes from the film?
Well, when all of the Jedi were fighting near an end.
Yep, great scene. Great choice.
When Yoda and Count Dooku had a fight.
Oh, yeah. So, the arena fight and Count Dooku and Yoda. What about a third one?
Probably have to say bit where he was sneaking around listening to Count Dooku.
Right, so Obi-Wan. So kind of Obi-Wan's
little scene.
Investigation scene, which runs throughout the film. You've mentioned the arena scene. So all the Jedi. It's the first time we ever saw all the Jedi like that. There'd only ever been 1 or 2 in all the movies up to that point. So to have that kind of battle scene. Do you like the rest of the arena scene? Do you like the creatures?
Oh, yep, I liked when that one hairy creature scratched
scratched
the Queen's back.
Ah, right, so that's the cat-type creature, that one. That is called the Nexu. And the big one with the big pointy feet is an Acklay. And the big, dinosaur one with the broken tusk, that is Reek.
Fun fact about that dinosaur Reek. Well, he's a vegetarian, and the reason he had that red on his back is because he was forced to eat meat, and that wasn't very good, and that's why he got mad. But that's also why they managed to calm him and rise that one only.
There you go. It sounds like you've been listening to Generation Skywalker over Generation Skywalker anniversary month of Attack of the Clones. Woo! Okay, so I'm going to mention 3 things now, okay, and I would like to get your point of view on it. What do you think about the love story? You're a child. What do you honestly think when you're watching Anakin and Padme kind of fall in love? Does that interest you as a plot point?
Do you remember you have Star Wars without them 2 being in love?
Well, that is very true. That's very true. Very true. So you thought that was you thought it was well acted, their little picnic scene when he's frolicking on top of those kind of giant blowing up cow things.
That was a mirror from another movie called Sound of Music.
Yeah, that is. Sounds like you've been listening to Generation Skywalker Attack of the Clones anniversary month. What about Hayden Christensen? What about Anakin? What about him? What do you think about him as a character in this film?
I think he might have over-dramatised a little bit.
Okay, that's good. That's interesting.
But I think he was a very good character, and yet again, just like Padme, there wouldn't be a story without him, because you wouldn't have Vader, and without Vader you wouldn't have had Luke.
From Attack of the Clones, who's your favourite character?
Obviously, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. What's your favourite ship?
Well, my favourite ship is that one that looks like a hole, and then a ship's in the middle.
No,
Obi-Wan's.
Yes, okay.
Obi-Wan's classical ship.
Yeah, okay, we'll call it the classical ship. Your favourite funny moment?
Funny moment. I'm going to have to go with, at a start scene, he was flying around in a ship, and Anakin said to him, "You don't like flying," and he said, "No, I don't mind flying, but this is suicide."
He does. That's well done, well remembered on that. What would you rate the film out of 10?
10 out of 10.
Maximum points there. Maximum points. And where do you rate it out of the 11 Star Wars films?
In my list, I'd have to put that second after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, there you go. Second. Interesting. Well, Toby, thank you for coming out to Tiki 421 to talk with me after we've watched that movie.
Yep, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, Daddy.
I wish the people could see your face, because you are a sarcastic little mini me. Okay, well, there you go. That is my son Toby. Back over to the main show, which is where I am. And there you go. Like Matthew Schoenfelder said, these films were made for children. They're always aimed at children, and coming from a child's mind, you can see that it works. They do like it. Now, boys, that is our audience's kind of view on it. 3.53. Interesting. Let's go back to what we've done this month. We've already done our standout moments, and we've already done what we really appreciated. But I want to know not where we rank it, but there were certain things we talked about in the prologue and in the commentary, the things we really liked and really disliked, and whether that has changed for any of you.
After listening to Matthew's interview and his explanation of why Anakin doesn't like sand, to me, I thought that was wonderful. I really, really liked that. So now I don't mind that scene as much. There's plenty of what I didn't like I'm now completely tolerant of, and I welcome it. And all the bits which I said I liked, I think I like even more. You can see where this is going.
Yeah. Dan?
I think the things I've got a problem with, I've still got a problem with. Some of it, there's 2 or 3 specific effect shots. There's a couple of scenes with Padme and Anakin, the droid factory, C-3PO. But I've always had a problem with those things. And everything else around it, I've always loved it. I've never said it's a bad movie, and I never think that it would. I think the thing that's changed for me is that I always viewed the movie, and maybe it's the stuff you see on YouTube influencing you and getting into your head, was that George Lucas made that movie just to sell toys, just to sell the technology. It was a big advert for ILM. But really, when we started looking at, whether it's the sound design or the art or the costumes and the amount of work that went into those costumes, you do appreciate more. Actually, it wasn't an advert. It was a movie that a lot of people put a lot of heart and soul into. So you take the bad bits away, you recognise the work that went into it. And I think it is a good film, and I think it is getting some recognition now that I think that it does deserve. And I think I've always flip-flopped, on the prequels. I think, between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and for a long time, Attack of the Clones has sat below Phantom Menace. And some of that, I think, is Grant's influence. He's always pushing Phantom Menace, and I know he's a big fan of the nostalgia for that film more than most. But I don't know, it's a tough call. I think at the minute in my head, Attack of the Clones might have jumped above it.
I made the point back in the prologue show about this film not being as great as the sum of its parts. And we've really done a number on breaking down those parts. And I certainly have got a whole new appreciation for some of the things that I didn't have an appreciation for. But as Dan says, there are still some bits in there that let it down. I placed it very low. And I think I placed it very low because I felt that I'd not really finished with The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker particularly. I still felt that I had watched them enough times. I've only seen Rise of Skywalker twice, which probably tells its own story. Now I look at that objectively. So all the shows we've done, particularly the ones where we've looked at specific topics like art, the sounds, the costumes, all really good. And quite academic, but we did look at them with some rigor. It wasn't sort of a glib jaunt through. We did go to some depth with that. I think what really affected me is that when we got to the clip show and watching some of that footage, and I think somebody mentioned it earlier on, just seeing how much love there was involved in the making of it and the innovation. And I think that really sort of emotionally sort of flicked a switch in me just to see that again. And I would have watched those at the time. I would have watched those extra features. I would have watched those webisodes and all that stuff. But to look back on it was really quite affecting. But this point that, it has to be greater than the sum of its parts, like a recipe. There's no point having all these top-notch ingredients if the measurements are all wrong and one flavour dominates where it shouldn't. And I had a friend he spoke the visual language of cars, right? A new car would come out and he'd go, I love the line on that, and I love the proportion with the wheels to the sides of the cars, but the headlights are terrible and it ruins it, and I would look at the car in question and go, oh, it's just a car. But I think the point there is that it can get derailed by clunky love scenes or tacked on droid factory scenes. So, I don't speak the language of cars. I like architecture, right? I'm not an architecture buff, but I appreciate buildings to some degree. And if it was a house on George Lucas Street, where he first built for numbers 4, 5, and 6 to a certain standard, and then went down to the other end of the road and started building 1 and 2, they have the same proportions. And we've spent a bit of time looking at the windows and looking at the innovation and the craftsmanship and the design, but it's still got an ugly front door and it's got a tacked on extension. And while it'll never be my favourite house in the street, it belongs there. It's a nice neighbourhood and I like to hang out.
For me, I think it's improved vastly. I always had a bit of a problem with Anakin's or Hayden Christensen's acting, but actually having spoken to Matthew, having watched the clips, it's quite clear that was what they were targeting. When I put the clips together, the casting of Anakin clip that's in there, a couple of minutes long, actually they tried out 400 different actors for this role. They chose him for a reason. That's how they wanted it. And the whole love scene doesn't bother me like it did. Yes, there's some poor dialogue in there, but it doesn't affect me like it did. The only thing I really haven't softened on, and that is the droid factory. There's something about that scene that just irritates me from start to finish. But actually, do you know what? If that is a 5-10 minute sequence in a 2.5 hour film, so be it. I mean, all my favourite films have probably got something take me out of it very slightly. But I mean, even just doing the committee with you boys, a couple of little things which I'd never really thought about. I mean, the Dooku Obi-Wan conversation, Craig, that you brought up didn't make the top 10, but yeah, you're right. I mean, 2 great actors from 2 different generations, both with this kind of attitude, was such a good observation. And the same with you, Jez. The younglings, when they go in there, the innocent and that kind of warming of the children kind of discussion was also a really good point. Again, didn't make the top 10, but both of those points, those little tiny clips of how well the thing's made is sometimes lost, I think, in the bigger picture.
Can I jump back? I'd mentioned about how things had all changed on a positive stance for me. But actually, Dan ruined a bit for me when we did the commentary because he was talking about the R2-D2 and the timeline and the delays there. So going through this process, yes, I have learned to love a lot more, become more tolerant of it. But yeah, Dan did introduce a continuity error, which really, really bugs me and will do forever. That compilation one where you listen to everyone, Saturday Night Live, Night Show, all of those different experiences and the enthusiasm which the young actors in particular had. Yeah, it was wonderful. You're right, there was a lot of love in the creation of this.
Made me realise how much I miss George Lucas.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Well, boys, so that brings me to the big question about where we have this in our list. So I've got in front of me where we had it. So I'm going to come to you, okay? And I'm going to start with you, Jez, because you said you had it in the bottom 4. It can move around. Your thing was quite fluid. It moved regularly. But out of 11 live-action films, you had it in your bottom 4. But the poll on our Facebook group, you rated it a 5, which is a
But that
huge
still makes
turnaround.
sense. That still makes perfect sense. I could rate them all 5. I could love them all, but I'll love one that a little bit more than the other. That's fine from a certain point of view.
But has the positioning of this changed?
Yeah, it was firmly established in the bottom 4, probably closer to 2. I think I was just being a little bit generous, trying to be a bit positive. But I can now absolutely say, completely hand on heart, that it's definitely left the bottom 4. It's no longer in the bottom 5 either.
Okay, so you've got it in the top 6 now. That's so it's gone up quite high. I mean, yeah, but to say top 6 rather than bottom 4 sounds a completely different conversation. So now, Dan, you had it bouncing between 9th and 10th. Now, what you've just said in your sum up, I'm guessing Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones were 9th and 10th. I'm disappointed in that. So you have got quite a few sequels in front of it. Now, you rated this 3 on the poll.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace. What is your bottom film out of interest?
Last Jedi.
So you've got The Rise of Skywalker above Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
I did then, yeah.
You're quite fortunate not to be booted from this conversation. Where have you got it now?
I would say it is somewhere. It has moved up. It has definitely cleared the sequel trilogy. It's cleared Solo, and I'd say as we sit here today, it's beneath Rogue One and Revenge of the Sith. So same as Jez, probably in 6th.
Right, so a big bump up for you as well. Now, Craig, I come to you. Both me and you had this rock bottom. Has that changed for you?
Hold on a minute. Yes. You were going to boot me off for having it to second from bottom. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it has. It has. And that was a lazy... It was a lazy answer in a show I was ill prepared for. But gut feel was that, yeah, it's the one I'm the least likely to put on a rainy Sunday afternoon. But I think this experience has certainly bumped it up 2 places above the latter half of the sequel films, most definitely, for all the reasons I've discussed.
Okay, I have lifted it quite a fair bit, actually, because so after I watched this with my son, he sat over a couple of days and watched the sequel trilogy, which I haven't returned to very often, and I certainly haven't sat and paid attention to it for a while. This film is far better than any of the sequel trilogy, straight away, having watched them again. I think it's also in 6th. I don't think it's better than the OT, and I still have it as my least favourite of the 3 prequels. But I think the Disney films struggle to put any of them above this. So for me, it's had a really positive effect this month of shows. I mean, I can't wait to do anniversary months of Force Awakens and that, because they'll all just be shunting back up again, won't they? As we delve into all of them. I think this has a lot more credence than what I initially gave it on the 1st of May. So anything else you boys want to bring up regarding our month?
I want to acknowledge the feedback of the people who contributed to the poll, but also to those people who just engaged with what we were doing. It helps. It helps us keep going through a month where there's a lot to do. So thank you to everyone who liked one of the facts or retweeted one of our shows, started to give us a follow on the social media. It's all appreciated.
Now, Craig, you've just returned from Celebration. A Celebration store was in full swing for Attack of the Clones. Now, I don't want you to list everything in there, but there is a couple of fun things that you could have, and you probably still can get hold of if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff wasn't released until the week before, so I think we were all wondering as we were going through the month just how Lucasfilm were going to celebrate their 20-year anniversary of Attack of the Clones. And the answer to that is with their tongue firmly in their cheek, because there's some really fun items produced as part of Celebration. But it'd be nice to go through, pick a few highlights.
Yeah. Now, did you pick anything up?
Well, you know what it's like trying to get in that store. I was laying down with tikis.
Well, how about then? Okay, I hope you've all got it open on your screen, the store. If you all were there, you could buy one item, what would you have purchased?
Well, I feel a little bit vindicated for highlighting the aspect of the meme in the committee show, because there's a T-shirt of the now classic Obi-Wan looking confused with the statement "visible confusion" underneath it. So I think that's really nice. It's Lucasfilm acknowledging its place in pop culture and playing with it. So I think that's quite sweet.
I'd go with the beach towel with Anakin with "I hate sand, it gets everywhere" printed across it. That's genius.
Nice. Jez?
Zen Garden, 100%. There are times in my life when I could do that. The T-shirts are great, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Zen Garden's good fun as well. I like the, especially in the committee, we gave a lot of love to Dexter's Diner. I love it. They did a patch. with your favourite droid, Craig, some coffee mugs, travel cups, a neon sign. It was really great that they acknowledged such a small part of that movie in such a fantastic way. Yeah, I think the T-shirts. I think there's some T-shirts that are brilliant. I love the WrestleMania play on WrestleMania. It's good. Definitely. I mean, I'm quite surprised. I can see Dan in that Jango Fett windbreaker. It's the kind of thing I see you rocking up to, just generally, just everyday life.
With the matching Jedi training beanie.
Yeah. To be fair, Craig, I can see you in the clone pattern butt-up shirt as well, with a little waistcoat over the top.
Yeah, it looks a bit shiny. I don't know whether it's that. It's a bit. Not sure about the shininess of it.
Before we close out Attack of the Clones month, any final thoughts about this movie? Anything that we've not mentioned in this show that maybe should have had a nod?
I think for me, we've said, what we think of the films. It'd be good, for people to go back and who might be a little bit sceptical still, just to, give our shows a listen and maybe go back into it with an open mind and see if we change their minds at all.
Definitely.
Just to restate what I said earlier, really, thanks for everybody who's clicked play on any of this stuff, because if I'd have seen it over a month ago, would I have engaged with a lot of Attack of the Clones stuff when there's so much else out there demanding my attention? Maybe, maybe not. So I hope the people who've been on the journey with us have enjoyed it.
Definitely. To me, it was just probably wasn't looking at the film as we should be looking at it. But I think everything from the CGI, okay, perhaps some of that hasn't held up over the years as technology's improved, but some of the casting is brilliant in this film. The love story, I think I've softened to. I understand it a little bit more. The art was wonderful to delve into. The costumes were brilliant to delve into. Trisha Bigger, what a star on this show. I mean, some of those costumes, 3 to 4 months to make one costume is incredible. The sound show was amazing. Even the discussion on cosplay, and people must like this because, like we said on the costume show, so many people cosplay so many of those different Padme outfits. Yes, some of the dialogue's bad, but I think there's more good points outweigh the bad. So, seriously, if you're only just logging in for this show and you don't like Attack of the Clones, just go and pick a couple of our shows that we've done this month and re-listen to them and just think, actually, this film's better than what I first gave it credence, and then go and watch it again. Because I know we're going to be watching it on a weekly basis for the next 10 years. Fact. If you want to go and check out what we've been doing, go over to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search for Generation Skywalker. You can go back. There's been posts on all sorts, the toy post, and of course the Jocasta New posts, which were fascinating in themselves, even if you're just a Star Wars fan. Some of those facts were brilliant. Some of the stuff I didn't know before this month, and they've been beautifully put together by Craig. A lot of love's gone into them, so go and check them out. Go and check out We Are Generation Skywalker on Facebook, where we do have lots and lots and lots of discussion going on, and that will advance into June as we return to our normal schedule. Make sure you check out all the podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. You can find them, and obviously most of these were enhanced with a couple of unboxings thrown in there. Go out and check out our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, really does help us, just those little things. But just search for Generation Skywalker on YouTube. But boys, it's been great. I've loved it. I can't wait to do another anniversary month. I think Return of the Jedi is probably the next year. But it is for this show and for Attack of the Clones month. Goodbye from Dan.
I need to go home and rethink my life.
You said it. And it is goodbye from Craig.
Wham bam. Thank you, Zam.
And it is goodbye from Jez.
Then we decided to come and rescue you. Good job.
And it is goodbye from me. We're Generation Skywalker. All eras, all passions, all Star Wars.